Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and it's time for a species spotlight. This week we're going to talk about the first critter I kept as an adult, and that is the African dwarf clawed frog. They are petite, clownish, adorable, and amazing for small tanks. So let's take a look and I'll tell you more about them. African dwarf frogs are without a doubt adorable. They come from tropical Central Africa and sometimes are called the Congo dwarf clawed frog. They're a tongueless species from the family Pippidae. And in the wild they come from shaded tropical forests where there's lots of a malmy base to the ground and tons of vegetation. Now, in the aquarium, you should use fine sand or really fine gravel and have an area of the tank that's pretty planted. I like to keep these guys in 5 gallons or larger, but they're really not that particular. They're relatively easy to feed. They really appreciate live food, things like Daphnia, tubifex, some worms. But you need to be cautious to not overfeed them bloodworms. It makes them prone to bloat. They'll often also take freeze-dried or frozen foods, but they're kind of bumbling idiots when it comes to feeding. So you want to use something that's relatively stinky. Otherwise, they just won't see it. Now, these guys are pretty tiny, so you wouldn't want to keep them with any fish that are aggressive or nippy. And you also wouldn't want to keep them with fish that are under about 3/4 of an inch because they will eat things that can fit in their mouth. In this aquarium, I have them with Trigonostigma espi, or the espi rasbora, or lamb chop rasbora. And as you can see on the wood here, there's even some shrimp. Because these guys are don't have very good vision, they're just really inefficient hunters, which makes them great in a small nano community aquarium. Now, they are fully aquatic. No land portion is needed for these guys, but they really do appreciate having things like a nubius or whatever planted in the middle to upper portion of the water column because they do go to the surface quite frequently. I think they're absolutely adorable. Now, these guys are also really breedable and very easy to sex. The males have a post-axillary subdermal gland, which is a little round tan to slightly pink circle that shows up in their armpit when they're in breeding condition. The females are also slightly larger and have a little bit longer of a tail. Now, they'll mate by the male's vocalizing and then wrapping his arms around the back of the female. So the female will lay eggs right up near the surface. They'll hatch in about 2 days. They get their back legs at about 10 days or so, and then their front legs develop around 24 days. By 30 days, they're generally full aquatic frogs. I'll see if we can't find one to show off that subdermal axillary gland in the armpit. I know that this is a boy coming up to the front here, but whether or not he'll cooperate for us to see is another matter. I just think they're absolutely adorable. The females also sometimes have fatter looking legs. Now, one of the worst problems with these guys, oh look. If you look at that frog there, right in his armpit is a little round circle right there, and that is that subdermal axillary gland. And that means that that is a boy. Now, one of the issues with this frog in the hobby is that for a long time they were really prone to chytrid, which was fatal. And back when I was working with them, there was not very good treatment. I think that now they've figured it out and you can treat them, but it was devastating to me, so I stopped keeping these guys for a really long time. Recently, I saw them show up on my list, and I decided to give them another go because I just think they're so much fun. Now, I just dropped in some Sarah GVG mix, which is a flake food that has freeze-dried worms and gamaris and all sorts of stuff in it. And generally, I don't feed these guys dried foods, but they've been taking to this one really well. I think because it's really stinky. And I wanted to see if I could get them feeding for you guys in this video. I just find them to be super fun little critters. Now, they do like a temperature range that is tropical, from the mid-70s up to about 80 degrees. And generally what I do in their aquarium is I'll plant the back portion all the way up to the surface and leave an area in the front open so that if I'm feeding worms, I can drop them into the open area of the tank and get to observe them as they eat. As you can see, they're kind of bumbling. They know that there's food in here, but they're not quite sure where to find it. And this is where feeding live foods really comes in handy. Now, stocking density for these guys is about 1 gallon per frog. You can keep them in very small aquariums, but it's always easier to maintain the aquarium if there's more volume. For that reason, I prefer 5 gallon or more. And in a 5 gallon, you could have 3 frogs easily, as well as some nano fishes. All in all, I find these guys to be exceptionally fun to keep, and particularly engaging if you have children who like to observe your aquariums. They're definitely a gateway species to get you interested in other small critters. As always, thanks for your continued support. Make sure you stop by my Instagram, my Facebook, and my website to see my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano. Let me know below if you guys have any comments, suggestions, or questions.